Mrs. Harms, when it comes to the foreign policy of the European Union, is everything in order right now?
No, I would say we have, like always, a problem. For example, the whole activities around Syria, the start of the negotiations in Geneva on Syria, and that the EU is not represented in these talks by Mrs. Mogherini shows that we still are very, very weak in our performance together as European Union in foreign affairs.
I could, a little bit provocative, ask you the question, is there a united Europe at all?
I think there is, meanwhile, even well-established European Union. It's a functioning European Union. We are, I think, one of the best functioning parts of the world, and this makes us also so attractive. Why should people want to come to Europe if we would not deliver well? But we have a problem to agree, especially also in acute situations like we saw it with the euro, like we see it now with the refugees. We have to perform better. But that we are not at all functioning, I find it over the top.
But could you imagine yourself just a few months ago that Europe would be divided again in an eastern part, getting more and more right-winged, and a western part trying to find its own feet?
I'm aware of real gaps in the European Union since long. Gaps in between the East and the West, and the North and the South. This should never be forgotten that we have two of those very specific gaps. I have not the impression that the East as such is going direction right wing in the political spectrum. We see developments, for example, in France. So Marine Le Pen, with a real extreme right party backing her, is one of the most successful politicians in Europe. So to make the extreme right development and new nationalism only a problem of the East is putting the East into a wrong corner.
But on the other hand, we have a Pegida movement in especially Dresden. Being a German yourself, what's your feeling when you see these kind of demonstrations where Angela Merkel and her vice-chancellor are to be put into a gallon and executed?
You have Pegida in Dresden and in Sachsen especially very strong, but you have many leaders of the AfD and also Pegida activists coming from the West. On the other hand, you have Mrs. Merkel and President Gauck leading Germany, the Bundesrepublik, and they both are from the East and they are well respected all over the world.
Among the refugees, we see a lot of people passing Turkey. That has made, especially your Chancellor, Angela Merkel, very, how shall I put it, humble towards Turkey, trying to get Turkey on the West European side, but not accepting it still in the European Union as a full member?
So I understood that in the European Council everybody agreed that we have to do more for protection of refugees also in Turkey. Like we have to do better for refugees in other neighboring countries, neighbor countries of Syria. But what I found wrong was that Mrs. Merkel, to achieve a better condition for refugees in Turkey, had a kind of electoral campaign event for Erdogan in the end. So it would have been enough to send the Europeans to meet with Davutoglu and the responsible ministers to agree on something we can do together, but to give kind of rehabilitation to Erdogan after this man worsened the whole development in Turkey, misusing his power against critical media, ending the peace process with the Kurds. So I found it irresponsible.
Final
Especially
question.
because the EU for too long time forgot about Turkey, put the whole Turkish issue and negotiation issue aside, and now in a very, very dark moment of Erdogan's political strategy, they come back and they recompensate him, but for what?
You are knowing a lot about Turkey, I know that. Final question is not about Turkey, but about Poland. I mentioned before that the East European countries seem to be drifting more and more to the right side of the political spectrum. What has happened in Poland, and what is the future, especially when we look at the possible cooperation between Poland and Germany?
So I think it was not that much a move, a true support for a real right-wing movement in Poland, which made these elections a problem. I saw that even people who are thinking in a way leftish, they supported already President Duda in the last presidential elections, and I think the two votes for the Polish president and now for Polish parliament and government, the two votes were more a vote against politicians whom people mistrust meanwhile in Poland, and not only a clear vote for a true very right-wing Poland. I would be very careful. I ask also my colleagues to be very careful with the judgment on this Polish situation. We should not blame people who want to overcome corruption or a government which did not deliver on the most important social promises, so to make all the voters now right-wingers.